Welcome back. South Africa's third quarter unemployment rate has risen to 34.9%. Around 7.6 million people are jobless. The expanded unemployment rate, which includes non-job seekers, has risen to 46.6%, which is roughly about 12.5 million people. Well, Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke joins me now to give us an update on that unemployment situation. Statistician-General, thank you for joining me. Sadly, you are on this occasion the bearer of bad news in that it seems there's no, we can't seem to get our unemployment situation under control. But just give us the context for these numbers. How are we to understand the numbers that you released today?
Let me mention that the responsibility of the Statistician-General is to give news like yourselves as media houses. It can't be bad or good news, it's just news all the time. Now, let us come straight to the numbers. What is happening is that we have seen movements in the number of those that are employed. We are seeing about 660 people declining from what was in the second quarter. So we had about 4.9 million people employed in the second quarter of 2021. We have declined by 660,000 people to 4.3 million people employed. Amongst the unemployed, we have declined from 7.8 million by 183,000 people to 7.6 million. Where did these people go to? They went to the discouraged work seekers as well as to other not economically active. And now this is the 7.6 million people of the unemployed people that is actively looking for employment, who represent the 34.9% of our unemployment rate. Having said so, Thulasizwe, let me mention also that we see the number of the decline amongst those that are employed, the 660. About half of those are coming out of the provinces of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal.
What more can you say about that number, 660,000 people who have declined from the number of people who are employed? So a job losses amounting to about 660,000. What accounts for that? Are you able to put more flesh to it, particularly in those two provinces, Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, when we look at the 660 and we say they went to the discouraged work seekers, but about 183,000 of them were specific to say that they didn't look for employment because of the unrest in the two provinces particularly. Now, when you look at it, and I want us to look at the sectors, which sectors gained employment and which ones have lost. Only the finance sector gained employment. About 138,000 jobs were gained by the finance sector. All the other sectors lost employment. And particularly the worst hit was trade. 309 jobs lost, as well as government as well as community services have lost about 200,000 jobs, 210,000 jobs, my apologies. Now, if you look at the trade, it is the sector that was hit the most by the unrest, particularly in the two provinces of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal.
Sure. And what is the complexion of the crisis, Statistician-General, when you look at the youth segment of our population, as well as the unneat tag of NEETs, those people that are neither in employment, education, or training, many of whom are young South Africans?
Firstly is that young people generally, and not because of the unrest in July, young people generally and women, particularly Black African women, are vulnerable to labor markets. Let us look at the unemployment rate of young people. It is sitting at 66.5%. And in the second quarter, it was 64.4%. So it has gone up. And when we look at young people who are not in employment, education, or training, there are about 3.4 million young people out of 10.2 million of ages 15 to 24 years who are not in employment, education, or training. Now we can see that young people wake up every day and they are seated, they are doing nothing. The unemployment rate of women, particularly Black African women, is that of Black African women is sitting at 41%, far above the national average of 34.9%.
Right, Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke, I've got to thank you for your time, and I appreciate how you are putting a narrative and a story of this reality to the numbers, and not just restricting it to the numbers. These are lives that are impacted by our unemployment situation. That was the Statistician-General there, Risenga Maluleke, having released the quarterly labor force survey. The figures make for grim reading, really. The number keeps growing in terms of the number of people that are unemployed. And I was particularly concerned there about the number of people who have been discouraged from, trying to find work. And he also brought in that whole element around what the impact of the unrest and riots in KwaZulu-Natal earlier on in the year was in terms of people being able to go out and look for a job.